University of Santo Tomas for 3 years became an internee camp, and they called it Santo Tomas Internee Camp. Close to 3,000 civilian internees had been there since 1942. This was UST, the Santo Tomas Internee Camp along Spania, Sampaloc, Manila. The walls were defended. Well, there was another wall inside made from sawali. They call it sawali. They were non-combatants, mostly civilians, and their families were forced by the Japanese to be interned at UST. This is how UST looked like. There were shanties here. The first Americans occupied the main building. But those who came in late had to build their own shanties here. They had to make a garden. This was converted to a garden as well as a graveyard. This is Governor Forbes Street. And this is the strategy. This is where the Filipinos will be guiding the Americans to enter UST. Shanty area. This was a banana grove, vegetable garden. Meanwhile, Filipinos were expecting the Americans. One of them was Captain Manuel Koliko, who headed the Allied Intelligence Bureau in Manila, an unarmed intelligence group. And they were preparing how to welcome and guide the Americans. On the 2nd of February, Manuel Koliko called up his men and he told them the Americans will be arriving soon, maybe on the 4th or the 5th of February. And we have to guide them. Some streets of Manila are not safe to pass by. The Japanese have lately mined them, and the Americans will be slaughtered. We have to help them. Who was Manuel Koliko? He at 39 years old was a veteran of the Bataan and a prisoner of war. This professor and product of Ateneo de Manila had also a wife and 7 children. He could have lived an ordinary life after being released from prison. But he went out from his comfort zone. From the comfort zone, he joined a deadly group that can cost his life, gathering information. And he was also the author of an underground newspaper using the name of Edwin C. Will. He was willing to risk his life for his country, like many Filipinos. One of his men was a student at Ateneo University in his college days, Diosdado Guitinco. Diosdado Guitinco was the corps commander of the ROTC cadets of Ateneo de Manila before the war broke out. Their unit was called to fight to join the USAFE, but being too young, their unit, the ROTC unit, was cancelled. And he was worried. By not joining the war, what will I tell my children in the future? The following day, Kolaiko was surprised to see the Americans entering Manila in the afternoon of February 3. And people were shouting, "Victory Joe! Victory Joe!" And they were laughing. They were jubilant, seeing at last their liberators. And Manuel Koliko was one of those. But he did not stay there cheering the Americans. He volunteered himself to be their guide. At first, the Americans doubted them. So they guided the Americans. And finally, the Americans trusted them. They finally reached UST. At UST, Manuel Koliko kept on briefing the Americans. Where is this? Where is that? And giving them tips all about the interior of the University of Santo Tomas, where his wife Clemencia was also teaching during the pre-war days English. But Guitinco told him, "You're in danger. The snipers might see you. Let's get behind the tanks and be safe." But Captain Manuel Koliko didn't mind the danger. They were standing at the middle of the grassy island, at the middle of Spania Avenue, in front of the gate of UST. That is the exact spot here where the American officers like Colonel Hackett O'Connor was here, and Koliko was here, but Guitinco, sensing danger, kept on warning his superior, Manuel Koliko, to be behind the tanks. The snipers are there, and the target of the Japanese snipers were Filipino guides. But Koliko kept on briefing the Americans and didn't mind the danger. And suddenly, a grenade coming from the Japanese fell on them and exploded, and wounding some American officers, including Hackett Connor, and fatally wounding Captain Manuel Koliko. At this point, Colonel Connor ordered to charge UST, the main gate. So this, the rafter here was blasted so the tanks could enter. And Koliko drew the first blood. The battle continued. It was the first battle. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, but there was enough sunlight since it's February. And until 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the evening, the battle in this banana grove and garden grove kept on, and Americans kept on charging with their tanks and with their automatic weapons. They were easily spotted, but they didn't give up. They kept on fighting until they liberated this portion only. But some Japanese held here in the education building, holding 200 internees as hostages. And it took 2 more days to liberate UST. Meanwhile, Koliko was treated here, given first aid, and given surgery here at the main building of UST. And later on, he was confined here at Santa Catalina Women's Dorm. After a few days, he was transferred to Legarda Elementary School, a kilometer or 2 kilometers away from here. And he died 7 days later. These are the liberated American internees. They suffered malnutrition, the 3 years of confinement here. These are some of the cavalrymen who participated in the liberation of Manila. These 2 participated at the liberation of UST, while Bill Swan participated in the liberation of Malacanang Palace. This is Norman Love, and this is Henry Swindle. Norman Love was a member of the machine gun crew. His brother died at Palo Leyte. The following day, February 5th, finally the agreement was set, and the Americans allowed the Japanese carrying their arms except grenades and machine gun, and escorted them from UST to Santa Mesa, Rotonda. The people were all amazed, surprised. Why were the Americans escorting these Japanese? But that was a gentleman's agreement. But the Japanese made a mistake. Instead of going to the north, towards Marikina, they turned right towards Malacanang Palace, thinking it was still under the Japanese. But there they were ambushed, and only 3 survived. Lieutenant Diosdado Guitinco got the command of Captain Kolaiko, the order to retrieve the maps that they had in their headquarters. While Kolaiko was still recuperating from his wounds at UST, Guitinco risked his life, jumped over the walls of UST without any escort. He was expecting the Americans to provide him enough escorts, like a jeep, but instead he was given some escorts to accompany him, But he refused because that would be more dangerous. So he walked around a kilometer away from UST, reached his headquarters, went to his house at Rizal Avenue, changed his clothes, which were all blooded because of the blood of Kolaiko, and returned to UST with the valuable maps that showed the safe roads and the unsafe roads. The Americans were about to pass to the minefield in Manila. Because of his bravery, he was made an honorary member of the 1st Cavalry. But he was never given a weapon, and he served as scout from there on. And every day he visited Kolaiko, who was still recovering. And one day, when he went to Legarda Elementary School, he was saddened by the news that his friend, his former professor at Ateneo, and his boss at the guerrilla unit passed away. After the war, Diosdado Guitinco graduated law at University of Santo Tomas and later took up advanced studies in a university, United States of America. He got married and had kids. That's Diosdado Guitinco, attorney Diosdado Guitinco, after he retired as corporate lawyer of FEU, and that is his wife. And do you know that since they got married, it was only in 1995 when we visited him for an interview that his wife learned about his participation in the war. He never told his wife anything about the war, nor his great participation. Why did he keep quiet? Was war a very painful experience? Losing friends and losing a friend like his professor, Manuel Koliko. And this is how we interviewed, and this is my personal photographer, Anthony Martin, I should say. And this is I, and this is the wife in their home. Guitinco passed away 5 years after this picture was taken. He told me the most detailed account about the liberation of UST, the arrival of the Americans that afternoon, how he saw the low-flying fighter planes that almost touched the rooftops, and he could see even the face of the pilot. They were flying so low, and they were doing some bombing raids at port area. And he shared some pictures and stories. He was so modest. He even said, "I've done nothing. It's nothing." But the government finally, in 1995, because of the newspapers and interviews, became aware of his contribution. And he even received an award from President Fidel Ramos at Malacanang Palace. And even when he went to the United States to visit one of his daughters, he was given the right recognition for saving the lives of the cavalrymen who were about to step upon a minefield.